Hello, my name is Егон Cholakian. My statement today is prompted by a number of publications in the Russian media, as well as by comments from certain Russian experts regarding the information I presented about the Siberian magma plume. The Siberian magma plume is an ascending flow of hot magma rising from the Earth's core to the boundary of the Earth's crust beneath Siberia. According to ALLATRA scientific preliminary calculations, the Siberian magma plume is comparable in size to the entire area of Australia. Right now, this magma is moving upward from the depths towards the surface, melting the Siberian platform. That is precisely why Siberia has been warming 2 to 3 times faster than the rest of the planet over the past few decades and heats the whole world. A rupture of the Siberian magma plume could provoke catastrophic consequences, not only for Russia, but for the entire world. Should this occur, the explosion from the rupture of the Siberian plume would be 1,000 times more potent than the Yellowstone caldera eruption. Moreover, it could trigger a chain of reaction of supervolcano explosions across the planet, ultimately rendering it unfit for life. The Siberian plume is the most perilous hotspot on the planet. It poses the greatest threat to the survival of humanity in the coming years if no measures are taken. We have cited several irrefutable facts indicating its activation, which are easily verifiable even in open sources. Furthermore, we have proposed a concrete solution to counter this threat. However, despite the existing facts, Russian scientists persist in turning a blind eye and denying the very existence of this threat. Therefore, I am now addressing you, Russian scientists. Do you understand that by issuing false statements, you mislead not only your own citizens, but also the international community, depriving people of a chance for survival? It is alarming to realize that you, who call yourselves scientists, are engaging in blatant disinformation rather than conducting an objective analysis of the situation. You claim that I am mistaken. I would like to remind you that I am not the only one behind the conclusions I have presented. There is an entire team of scientists who have devoted decades of work to this issue. I am merely one participant in that collective. You say there is no scientific evidence of a magma plume in Siberia. Yet you fail to comment on or explain the following geological phenomena and anomalies in the Siberian region. Let us begin with the earliest observations. In 1997 through 1998, several independent scientific groups, including Russian teams from Moscow State University and the Institute of Earth Physics at the Russian Academy of Sciences, recorded an unprecedented shift of the Earth's inner core, accompanied by a displacement of the planet's center of mass. Scientists, among them Professor Yuri Barkin and academician Victor Hein, concluded that this core displacement brought about large-scale changes in all layers of the Earth. The shift of such a massive object as the Earth's inner core was directed toward the Taimyr Peninsula, that is, the northern part of eastern Siberia. In that same direction toward the Taimyr Peninsula, an abnormal drift of the North Magnetic Pole began in 1995, with its movement speed increasing several-fold. In 2013, researchers at the University of Leeds linked this phenomenon to an acceleration of liquid iron flow in the Earth's outer core. According to works published in 2009 by Professor Yuri Barkin, these events led to an asymmetric release of heat towards Siberia through convective mixing in the mantle, accounting for the subsequent anomalous warming of the atmosphere in that region. A decade later, the warming of the Siberian region became most evident through various anomalies. Contemporary scientific data indicate an unprecedented intensity of warming in Siberia. According to the United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, as of 2021, Siberia is warming 3 times faster than the rest of the world, while the Siberian Arctic is warming 4 times faster. Meanwhile, based on data from the World Meteorological Organization, the territory of Russia is warming at a rate of 2.5 times faster than the global average, with particularly rapid temperature increases in the northern polar area. In 2020, temperatures in the region exceeded average values by 5 degrees Celsius, or 9 degrees Fahrenheit, from January through June. And in June, they were up to 10 degrees Celsius, or 18 degrees Fahrenheit, above the norm. Additionally, maps of average temperature anomalies for the latest winter period, that is to say December 2023 to February 2024, showed an increase of 2.0 through 4.5 degrees Celsius, or 3.6 through 8.1 degrees Fahrenheit, relative to the norm in the area of the Godam and Taimyr peninsulas. Heat waves in the atmosphere over Siberia exhibit a pulsating nature caused by the wave-like intrusion of magma into the Earth's crust. This dynamic drives sharp temperature fluctuations as air masses mix and release a tremendous amount of additional thermal energy in the region. According to 2022 research, the rate of warming in the Siberian Arctic is nearly 4 times higher than the global average. Notably, this temperature anomaly is centered in the marine waters of the Siberian shelf near the Taimyr Peninsula. This is explained by the thinner oceanic crust, which conducts heat from the magma plume more rapidly, as well as by the high heat capacity of the water, which can store and retain heat more effectively than the atmosphere. It allows the ocean to accumulate the heat from the ascending magma plume, even though the plume itself is located beneath the continent. The consequences of magma upwelling include soil warming, recorded at depths of 3 meters, about 10 feet, accelerated permafrost thawing from the bottom upward, sudden temperature spikes in oil production wells, water boiling in wells, and wildfires, among them unprecedented cases of burning beneath snow cover on the Taimyr, Yamal, and Gedan peninsulas. Researchers have also observed an increase in methane and hydrogen emissions from deep fractures, heightened activity of mud volcanoes on the Arctic shelf, and a growing number of craters caused by natural gas explosions. These phenomena are localized along Earth's crustal faults, emphasizing the connection of these processes to the region's deep geodynamics during the ascent of the Siberian magma plume. Evidence that the eastern Siberian craton and the western Siberian plate are under pressure from a magma plume below can be seen in edged effects, namely the rise in seismic activity along the boundaries of these tectonic structures. In particular, seismic activity is growing both east of the Taimyr Peninsula in the Irkutsk region to the south, and even westward along the Ural Mountains. All these climatic and geodynamic anomalies will continue to escalate, and before long their scale will be impossible to conceal. Undoubtedly, the intensified subsurface heating in Siberia leads to increased moisture evaporation and higher humidity in the region, resulting in abundant precipitation, flooding, and other atmospheric natural disasters. Can you explain all the facts I have presented to you? First and foremost, explain them to your own citizens, who began asking you questions long ago, questions you have still been unable and unwilling to answer. Once again, tell the people in Russia who have already suffered from anomalous climate disasters that everything is fine with the climate, that everything is within the norm, and that they are in no danger. But remember one thing. Very soon you will inevitably have to answer for your words. After all, your disinformation will do nothing to alter the climatic events themselves. And already this year you will be confronted by even more serious cataclysms. The following years will be catastrophic for you, and unfortunately people will suffer, and they will suffer primarily because of your lies, as they will not be prepared for such challenges. What will you say to the citizens of your country when they ask, "Why did you lie to us?" I understand your situation. In a country with totalitarian regime, where a single misplaced word can land you in prison, you are powerless to change anything. That is why you scientists are forced to say what the propaganda demands of you. You have simply become the talking heads of the FSB. They tried to silence us too, because their masters disliked this truth about the climate, which threatened their total power. Then when they failed to force our complicity, they discredited us, outlawed us, and expelled Allatra from the country. Essentially, they drove out the only people who, thanks to many years of research, understand the causes of this acute climate crisis and know the tangible steps that need to be taken to resolve it. To this day, the remaining former Allatra volunteers in Russia continue to face persecution and even torture. So believe me, Russian colleagues, I understand your situation better than anyone else. But remember that scientists are not politicians. They must be held accountable for their words. Therefore, my advice to you is this. Instead of blatantly lying and denying the threat exists, it would be better to simply remain silent. Find some reason not to give those deceitful comments. Fall ill. Miss the conference or interview. It will be far better than spreading lies that very soon will harm both you and your loved ones. This is not the kind of lie that can remain concealed. It is the kind of lie that will become evident in the coming years and months. And if you have even the slightest connection to science, you should understand that what we are saying is true. We are now witnessing precisely those climatic changes about which our scientific community, Allatra, warned as far back as a decade ago. At the time, we were told that the events were described would occur only in another 150 years. Yet reality has shown that we were absolutely right, and these events are unfolding with absolute precision according to the model we described. We have already encountered what we had forewarned. All the current natural cataclysms fully correspond to our forecast, which were based on many years of research. We indicated both the time frames and the sequence of events, and all of them are coming true today. So, wherein lies our error? Is it that scientific facts fail to align with your expectations or desires? I have also noticed that some Russian media outlets label the Siberian plume a megavolcano, and even began referring to the Siberian plume as Cholakyan's volcano. I find such use of my name inappropriate. I would prefer that my name not be associated with anything potentially threatening to humanity as a whole. Moreover, I did not create this phenomenon, nor am I its original discoverer. If anyone's name should be linked to it, then logically and justly, it ought to be called Danilov's volcano, because he was the very person who more than 2 decades ago first identified and described this geological mantle structure beneath the Siberian platform, and also proposed ways to minimize the catastrophic consequences should the plume breach the surface. Second, let us clarify the terminology. What we are observing in Siberia is not a volcano. It is a plume, a geological phenomenon of an entirely different origin, structure, and scale of influence. The Siberian plume should also not be called a supervolcano. Volcanoes are localized geological structures, whereas plumes can span vast territories and induce changes on a global scale. Volcanoes are tied to processes in the upper layers of the mantle and Earth's crust, while plumes ascend from the lower mantle region and operate on a substantially larger scale. That is precisely why the Siberian plume poses a global threat, extending far beyond Russia. This phenomenon endangers the entire world, including my own country. As a scientist who has dedicated his life to research, I cannot remain silent or speak falsehoods. Some may wonder how the Siberian plume is already influencing the entire world. Imagine a large pan filled with water, beneath one portion of which there is a small candle. The question arises, can the water in the pan come to a boil if the heat source is acting only under one part of it? Undoubtedly, yes, because thermal energy spreads throughout the liquid due to its physical properties, such as thermal conductivity and convection. In a similar way, the localized heating of the atmosphere and ocean above the Siberian platform caused by the ascent of the magma plume introduces a substantial influx of thermal energy into the global system. This powerful inflow of additional energy in one region disrupts established thermodynamic processes, which manifest as heightened climate turbulence and atmospheric anomalies across the planet. Let me reiterate what I mentioned in my previous video. 2024 was officially recognized as the warmest year on record since 1850, surpassing the pre-industrial level by approximately 1.55 degrees Celsius or 2.8 degrees Fahrenheit. In 2024, the average sea surface temperature over the non-polar oceans reached a historic high of 20.87 degrees Celsius, about 69.6 degrees Fahrenheit. The total amount of water vapor in the atmosphere hit a record level in 2024, coming in at 4.9% above the average for 1991 through 2020. According to the latest research, due to elevated ocean temperatures in 2024, the intensity of all 11 tropical hurricanes in the Atlantic increased, with their maximum wind speeds rising by 15 to 45 kilometers per hour, or 9 to 28 miles per hour. As a result, 7 hurricanes escalated to higher categories, and 2 tropical storms intensified into hurricanes. Few people are aware that Europe recorded 1,035 tornadoes in 2024, setting a new European record for this hazardous weather phenomena since ESSL began compiling data. My words are resonating not only in Russia, but also in the United States. However, I should note that for certain Americans who may be deriving geopolitical satisfaction from Russia's difficulties, there is no cause for celebration. These problems will affect everyone, including the United States, and their nature will be partly linked to the consequences unfolding in Siberia. Even now, we can observe the expansion of tornado ranges, trajectories, and intensity in the United States, precisely as was previously forecasted by our model. For instance, In 2024, the United States experienced its most intense year for tornadoes in the past decade. We have only just begun the new year, and more extensive natural disasters still lie ahead. But what initially sparked the changes in the core? What caused its shift, prompting the ascent of the magma plume beneath Siberia? It is fitting here to recall that every 12,000 years, the entire solar system enters an astronomical cycle during which additional energy flows to the cores of planets and the sun itself. Moreover, every 24,000 years, this energy input to the planetary cores is several times greater, and the resulting catastrophes are more severe. Currently, the Earth has already entered the zone of direct influence from this more powerful 24,000-year external cosmic cycle. Right now, immense volumes of energy are reaching the core, steadily increasing and converting into heat, which warms the magma. This process melts the mantle, enlarges the volume of magma, and causes the planet to expand from within. Pressure on the Earth's crust from the inside is rising, as is the heat emanating from the depths. With each passing day, the amount of energy in the atmosphere grows at an exponential rate. This increase is comparable to the atmosphere now receiving in a single day as much energy as it did over an entire year 7 decades ago. Consider what this could mean for the future, especially given that this trend shows no sign of abating. Let me also remind you that this cycle is compounded by anthropogenic activity, specifically the pollution of the ocean with micro and nanoplastics, which reduce the ocean's thermal conductivity. While reporting at COP16, the 16th conference of the parties, I stated that traditionally the ocean served as the planet's primary thermal regulator, efficiently channeling excess heat away from the Earth's interior. However, anthropogenic influence has significantly disrupted this natural mechanism. Plastic waste and petroleum products in the oceanic waters have radically altered the thermal properties of the marine environment. As a result, the ocean, rather than performing its natural function of heat dissipation, has transformed into a sort of thermal accumulator. In light of the heightened energy in the atmosphere-ocean system due to the intrusion of Siberian plume and other magma flows that are fracturing and heating the Earth's crust at present, any attempts to restore or cleanse the ocean, such as tackling pollution and acidification, will be futile. Such efforts are meaningless so long as the core issue remains unresolved. The sweeping increase in pressure exerted by molten magma on the Earth's crust. This can be addressed only through the degassing of the Siberian plume. Only after resolving that question can we turn to restoring the ocean, from removing plastics to introducing the AWG system to improve water circulation. This approach offers hope for rejuvenating the ocean before the situation becomes irreversible. Currently, hypoxic zones in the ocean have markedly expanded, especially after November 24, 2023, a topic I will revisit shortly. Warming accelerates ocean acidification, undermining its key functions. As a result, the ocean can no longer effectively channel heat away from the Earth's interior or enrich the planet with oxygen. Moreover, it becomes a major source of carbon dioxide, CO2. In some areas, CO2 emissions already exceed oxygen production. A comparable trend is unfolding in forests, where they too start releasing CO2. This fundamentally alters the planet's atmosphere. These changes are interlinked and form part of a global process that cannot be viewed in isolation. Only a comprehensive strategy can have a meaningful effect. Such ecosystem changes could transform the ocean from a CO2 sink into a CO2 source, a catastrophic scenario yielding irreversible consequences for all life on Earth. When the ocean and the forest, instead of performing their usual functions, begin to exacerbate the crisis, we are faced with a self-accelerating climate crisis that demands urgent solutions. Today, the primary solution remains to carry out degassing of the Siberian plume. Without it, any ocean restoration projects will be of limited efficacy. No alternative approach has been put forward thus far. The only realistic plan is a scheduled, controlled degassing that can alter the course of events and help humanity. We recognize that our proposal involves certain risk. Nonetheless, thorough study and comprehensive preparation can help minimize them. If alternative solutions exist, we are prepared to consider them. However, at present, no other ideas have been presented, and we have run out of time to stand idle. Friends, we must accept the bitter truth. The world we knew just a few years ago is gone forever. Without decisive action, the situation will continue to deteriorate. Even in the event of a successful resolution to the climate crisis, our planet will be transformed beyond recognition. The sooner we, as humanity, understand that climate and geodynamic shifts are at the heart of the problem, the sooner we can formulate an effective strategy to confront this greatest threat facing humankind. Yet, in attempting to convey this, we encounter a paradoxical situation. When we appeal to various institutions and decision makers, we are met with a stunning lack of comprehension, as if we were speaking to inhabitants of another planet. Their response is to suggest other places we could turn to, as though this acute climate and geodynamic crisis concerns only those of us who are issuing the warning. But do you live on a different planet? This is a shared threat affecting all of humanity, and no one is currently taking genuine steps to address it. As long as they remain occupied with geopolitical maneuvering and macroeconomics, they will never recognize this as their problem. Meanwhile, nature, which is changing at a rapid pace, could not care less about geopolitics or economics. Until we acknowledge that our planet is mortally ill and urgently requires human intervention, like a patient needing a doctor, we have no hope. You can see everything that is happening, and it will only get worse. The era of wars and misunderstanding has passed. What we need now is unity in addressing precisely this problem. Otherwise, the next president of the United States will be forced to consider an emergency evacuation of humanity from our planet, a prospect plainly impossible in a short time frame, or attempt to wait out the planetary cataclysms in space, which is fanciful, given that these upheavals are occurring throughout the solar system, and waiting would require millennia, if not longer. Thus, we have only two options. Either solve the problem here and now, which still remains feasible, or seek a new home for humanity. The latter option is clearly impossible. All right, I have yet another question for Russian scientists who deny the existence of the magma threat. If you consider yourselves scientists, then answer this. Are you aware that on November 24th, 2023, an event of planetary magnitude occurred? Humanity was on the brink of a global catastrophe. Deep magma advanced significantly in the area of the Mariana Trench, causing a series of seismic swarms in the region's thin oceanic crust. This process irreversibly altered the state of the world's oceans. In a single year, the ocean lost more of its ecosystem function than in all the preceding years combined. New dead zones appeared. Ocean acidification intensified, and the ocean, our primary climate regulator, began releasing carbon dioxide instead of oxygen in some areas. The repercussions of that event have forever changed our atmosphere and climate. If another similar advance of magma were to occur again near the Mariana Trench, we would have at most 6 months to find a new planet for life. Did you know about what happened in the Mariana Trench? If you did, why did you remain silent? And if you did not know, how can you call yourself scientist? How many experts openly acknowledge this? How many understood its consequences? It was precisely this event, which occurred on November 24, 2023, that led to the temperature anomalies from December 2023 to February 2024 in the region of Russia's Егон and Taimyr peninsulas, as I had indeed mentioned earlier. This event had a catastrophic influence on the oceans, the atmosphere, and the global climate. The year 2023 became a turning point for our planet, marked by unprecedented number of climate records exceeding all known scientific parameters. We are witnessing more and more occurrences that push beyond the boundaries of our understanding. The events of November 24, 2023 triggered a cascade of anomalous phenomena throughout 2024, and there is no guarantee that a similar situation will not happen again. We stand at the edge of irreversible changes. I address the Russian scientific community. Do you grasp the magnitude of what has occurred? Have you examined the consequences of these events for the ocean and the atmosphere? If you call yourself scientists, why do you ignore these critical facts? The scale of the event that took place beneath the Mariana Trench is hard to comprehend. That magma intrusion not only hastened the ocean's demise, but also significantly affected the Siberian plume, further worsening the planet's overall condition. Most people had no idea how close we came to annihilation. If such an advance of magma occurs again, the atmosphere will be radically transformed within half a year. Humanity will simply run out of oxygen. That will be the final end of life on Earth, repeating the fate of Mars. Critical changes are already apparent. In recent months, ocean temperatures have surged dramatically, as confirmed by data from independent research institutes. The question is, did you realize we were on the verge of catastrophe? If you are genuine scientists, you should have known this and understood the implications. But I am convinced that you, who call yourselves scientists, did not know. Your titles exist only on paper, with no real grasp of the processes unfolding around us. After Alatra was officially deemed an undesirable organization on Russian territory, we were forced to shut down the experimental equipment that, for 10 years, had been mitigating the consequences of atmospheric climate cataclysms across Russia, Eastern Europe, and Northwestern Asia. Shutting down this experimental equipment likewise contributed to the worsening of the situation. I am not claiming that this shutdown alone caused the abrupt advance of magma on November 24, 2023 in the Mariana Trench, but who can prove it had no influence whatsoever? These processes are too subtle and interlinked to disregard, and the absence of clear explanations only compounds the problem. During these events on November 24, 2023, our team, including Alatra scientists, experienced one of the most terrifying moments of our lives. In that single day, I literally felt as though I had lost years of my life, realizing just how close we had come to the ultimate catastrophe. It was the most harrowing ordeal, one I never wish to repeat, and I have been through plenty. Anyone who knows me can attest to that. I have looked death in the face more than once in the truest sense of the word. Yet this was the most frightening experience because it concerned not just me personally, but all of humanity. We can provisionally divide life on Earth into before and after November 24, 2023. As of now, there is no going back. Yet we do have a specific solution that was proposed 10 years ago. The urgent planned degassing of the Siberian magma plume. In that scenario, pressure would be reduced throughout the entire magmatic system, not just in Siberia. However, some so-called scientists still dare to claim that no solution has been offered. Such a statement is absurd, given the many years of research and warnings we issued in advance. Meanwhile, you Russian scientists are spreading lies, pushing the narrative demanded by your regime. For many years, we have been trying to alert people to the threat and present genuine measures that could be undertaken for our shared rescue. We proposed the solution a decade ago, and I myself, as a degassing specialist, spoke publicly about it several years ago and reiterated it again quite recently. Yet so far, aside from persecution and attempts to silence us, those who speak the truth, nothing else has transpired. You may continue following FSB orders and misinforming the public, but remember that no one will ever pardon you for your misdeeds. Think about the fact that the order you are carrying out benefits neither you, the Russian people themselves, nor the global community. It benefits only a tiny Nazi group of people who have seized power and created a parallel system of governance in Russia. These individuals wield more real authority than your legitimately elected government, which has effectively lost control because of the pressure of the Nazi agents in your country. By carrying out their orders, you scientists become Nazi propagandists yourselves. And when the moment arrives for you to account for your actions, we as humanity do not wish to hear you say, "I was merely following orders. Those were such times, or I did all I could do in my position." We see what you are doing. You are enforcing criminal directives, misleading not only Russians, but the entire world, and driving humanity to the brink by failing to fulfill your duty as scientists. Tell me, does your conscience still let you sleep at night? And do you even have a conscience left? Now I am speaking directly to the citizens of Russia. I know you share my words among yourselves despite the Iron Curtain behind which you have been confined. In your country, no one dares to speak such truths openly. Therefore, from my position of safety, I must call things by their true names. Russians, open your eyes to what is unfolding with the climate and recognize that you are repeatedly being lied to. You can see for yourselves that the situation is deteriorating, and it will only grow worse unless decisive measures are taken. For now, we still have the power to solve this problem, provided a handful of individuals possess the political will. Think of it this way. Your lives, the lives of your children, and the lives of billions of other people more depend on the decisions of literally a few people. Ask yourselves, as parents, can you do anything to protect your children from the threats we warned about 10 years ago? I especially wish to address the women of Russia. Your country, once bearing the heaviest losses in the fight against Nazism, is now becoming a stronghold of that very ideology. Nazi propaganda has distorted your reality to such an extent that you proudly send your husbands and sons to their deaths. What do you have to be proud of? The advent of Nazis who have stripped you of your most basic rights and now sacrifice the lives of your loved ones. At this moment, as I address you, I am showing more concern for you and your children than your own government and president, who remain entirely under the sway of these Nazis. What is happening with the Siberian plume is not some fabricated special operation by hostile forces against Russia, as they would have you believe. Only those who are deranged or fixated on power could claim that information about the Siberian plume is a lie intended to seize Russia's resources. Understand that this is not about your mineral wealth. It is about the survival of all humankind. And you, the people of Russia, stand at the front line of this threat. You will be the first victims perishing within minutes and hours with no chance of escape. If you do not wish to share Pompey's fate, heed the voice of reason and science. Even now, many doubt my words, but you will see for yourselves. This year will convince you that I speak the truth, and the years that follow will free every last citizen from skepticism. The only question is whether that clarity will come too late, when nothing more can be done. Perhaps I would remain silent were this crisis to affect only your country. That would be your choice. But what is happening now imperils the entire world, including my beloved America, which I have defended my whole life. I warn you of an almost inevitable catastrophe unless urgent measures are taken. Degassing the Siberian plume could extend humanity's lifespan by another 250 million years, if we so choose. Should we refuse, events will proceed of their own accord. For now, we still have the ability to change everything, but the window for doing so is closing fast. Let me pose a single question, one to which I seek answers not only from Russian citizens, but from every citizen of the world. What could possibly be more valuable than your life? If your life and the lives of your loved ones are gone, what value would remain for you in this world? Just think about it.